Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our city council meeting. It is Tuesday, February 21st. It is 4:30, and I call this meeting to order. Okay. Agenda item number 1, call to order, roll call, and certification of quorum. I would like the record to reflect that we do have a quorum. We will move on to agenda item number 2, which is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. We will have our invocation led by Mr. Matt Moreno with BT Church. And then I also would like to welcome Isaiah Dallas Garcia to step forward. He's gonna lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Isaiah? Over here, mijo. Between me and Mr. Molina. Right here, mijo. Welcome.
Awesome. Let's pray. Father God, we just thank you for today, Lord. We thank you for your son, Jesus. God, I pray just over this meeting, God, that you would be ever so present in the details and everything. God, we thank you again for the great city of Alice, Lord, and just how it is moving forward. God, I pray that you would continue to be with each and every council member's family. Lord, you would continue to protect them and lead them and guide them. Lord, thank you for our mayor. I pray that you would protect her family too, that you would bless them. Lord, I pray that any decision today would be made, God, with the greater good in mind. Lord, I thank you for everyone here who's present. I pray that you would bless them on their way home and keep them safe and bless this meeting today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Pastor Moreno. Okay. I don't have anything as far as public comments today. Agenda item 3 is public comments, and I don't have any, so we'll move on to our council members. Mr. P. Chris,
None at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr.
I
Molina,
just want to welcome everybody.
Mr. Burke,
No comment, just a quick welcome to everyone, please.
Mrs. Bowen.
Yes, thank you. This afternoon, we had the pleasure, me and Mr. Chris, we had the pleasure to attend a re-grand opening ribbon cutting for Premier Health. So I just want to congratulate them. I believe Oscar Flores is a resident of Alice. He is now running the facility. So welcome back, Oscar, to Alice. We're glad to have you back home. And this week is actually National Engineers Week. And I'm just going to read something really, really quick. It says, engineers play a vital role when it comes to the world that we live in today, and we want to celebrate them this week and every day for their contributions that they make to our society. Here's to all the wonderful engineers of the world. So, you see an engineer, tell them Happy Engineers Week. And welcome, everybody. It's good to see everybody here today. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I did want to say something. I thought about it again. A huge thank you goes out to the fire department and everybody that came through in mutual aid. I know we had a huge fire here, pretty much right in the center of our city in a hard building to actually take care of. Thank God we had some new equipment and other things, and we have the support of not only our amazing local firefighters, but those from around us to secure. We have a lot of residents right close to that, and they did an amazing job in taking care of our community. So, just if you see them out there, make sure you thank them for what they do every day, because it's not that single fire, it's fires all the time. So, thank you.
Thank you. Also want to welcome everyone and thank you for being here. Thank you to all our law enforcement and firefighters and everyone within the community, because we come together in emergencies. And I'll tell you, in a little while, we're going to be doing a proclamation, and that's in reference to domestic violence. We've had some situations within our community, and just pray for everyone and that we come together. If you see something or you know of someone, let's speak up and, try to be aware of our surroundings and try to help someone. I know sometimes they don't share the information, but anyways, I just want to thank y'all, and I'll move on to our city agenda for city manager and staff reports. And I'll open them up, and then I'll pass it over to you, Ms. Starting plan to update billing standard buildings. 4.3, trespassing campaign. 4.4, presentation and discussion with Alice Police Department Chief Eden Garcia regarding reserve officers with the Alice Police Department. Mr. Esparza.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Want to have Patrick here, who's in charge of our codes and inspections, also fire department as well. But something that we've been working on and talking about for the last 3 months has been updating our building codes. Building codes, of course, are the minimum design standards of construction to safeguard our structures in our community as things are getting built. And the last time we updated that was in 2014. And so we're currently on I'm going to hand this out to you guys, currently on 2012 on most of the codes, 2011 on the electrical code. And that was in 2014 when those were adopted. So we're looking at that, and Patrick's going to talk a little bit about that, what we've done in the process that we're going to use to bring something back to you guys.
So basically, we're just, the purpose of today is just to let you guys know that this process has started, and we are currently working on updating the codes. It's a little bit, it's kind of complicated to update the codes. It's not as simple as just adopting. We want to make sure that we evaluate the codes to make sure we're going to the right current set of codes. There's probably 3 or 4 different updates to that code since 2012. And so you're jumping from we've got to evaluate it to make sure that we're jumping to the right set of codes that meets our community's needs. And then in addition to that, sometimes the codes, so these codes are a national standard, and so it's like a big blanket of codes, but there may be some things that we want to be a little stricter on, or we may want to omit from the code. So what we're doing is we're reaching out to our contractors, building developers, our inspectors or city staff, and outside other cities as well, to kind of get ideas of what's going to be the best thing for the city of Alice. And so that's basically what we're just here today to tell you guys, that we're starting that process, and it is going to take about a month or 2 at least, is what we're estimating, but we should be coming back to you soon with a set of codes for recommendation.
Okay. Council, any questions or any discussion? Okay.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Okay.
On 4.2, we're going to talk about substandard buildings, and also Patrick's going to talk about that. We've been working on this for a while, and our staff has done a really good job of getting it organized, keeping track, and you'll see on the handout, things are getting mapped, and now we're just going to look for solutions on how to accomplish some of the goals that we have set out on this project.
So Project Clear is what we're calling this. It's called the Collaborative Large-Scale Effort for Alice Revitalization. And what this is basically our substandard structures or vacant structures that exist all over our city. And if you look at that map up there, all those different little circles is everywhere that there's a building that's substandard, possibly substandard, secured, unsecured. They're all color-coded, and I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. But that's just so you can see how big of an issue it is for us, or a problem. It's all over the city. It's not one specific neighborhood. It's not one general area or one side of town. It's the entire city. I mean, they're just all over the place. And so when we first started this project, it was I don't know how to make this thing. Don't have batteries, I guess. I don't know. So when we first started this, the first step that we wanted to do is to get an idea of what we were dealing with. How bad is bad, right? We wanted to see what the problem was before we could come up with a solution to it. That one? Okay. I was hitting the wrong button. All right, so Project Clear. The goal of this project is to beautify and enhance the safety of our neighborhoods, and a big emphasis on the safety. A lot of these, the emphasis is the safety of the neighborhoods. And here in one of the next presentations, you're going to hear Chief Garcia talk about the no trespassing signs. This is going to kind of coincide with that. The substandard structures within our city limits. Through Project Clear, we're going to identify, which number one was identify which structures within the city limits are substandard. And so that was the hardest part, or I want to say the hardest part. We still haven't gotten into to 3 and 4, but They may be harder than what I'm thinking, but first was identifying what the problem was, how big it was a problem. The next thing was categorizing the structures by location, type, and severity. So as you can see, I told you earlier, they're color-coded. We've already kind of initially done that, but we've still got another process to go through to be able to prioritize them to see which ones need to be handled first, right? Then abatement by voluntary compliance, that's number 3. That's our next step. Once we get done identifying which ones or putting them in order by severity, the next step is we're going to start working with the owners. So one of the common things that we've already begun talking with some owners of some of these properties that are vacant and substandard, and the common thing we're hearing is that they know that it's there, they know they've got to tear it down, they just lack funds to be able to tear it down, they need help. And so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do to make that happen, to help the ones that are voluntarily wanting to eliminate the substandard structure. And then we've got a process that, I'm going to go into just a little bit more detail in a minute, but we've got a process that helps us abate by enforcement, following our local, state, and federal requirements. Oh, you're hitting the button and it's not working. Yeah, forward. Well, they have the handout, so really hope you guys can see what's going on.
The wrong way.
Other way. So since June of 2021, we've been working with, we've been identifying the structures, and we do have, I have to give credit to the staff. Our code enforcement officers have really been the ones that are really been going out and doing a lot of the legwork on this process. I'm just the one up here talking about it and telling you, we've been directing it, but they're the ones doing a lot of the work. So, I don't want to take credit for the hard work that was done on this. But since June of 2021, they've been working with potentially substandard structures located within the city limits. We identified them, photographed them, and created a map. And so that picture you saw on the very first slide was a Google map. And here in a little bit, I'll get to a link where you can actually pull up the Google map, and you can click on any one of those dots, and it'll bring up ownership information, pictures of the structure, and so we can get an idea of what we're working with. And it's got all the information on that specific structure. We've also, that's the custom Google map that one of our code officers has been working with. Anthony's back in here somewhere. Right there. Anthony Reese has been, he's our point man on this, and he's been doing a lot of the technical work, creating the maps. Go to the next slide. So one thing that, here in a minute, you're going to see some numbers. One thing that we've learned as we've been going through this is it's very volatile. It changes from 1 week to the next. 1 week, there's certain buildings that are there. Sometimes they're not there. Sometimes they get secured. So it's been an ongoing process with these numbers and getting them to where we, to keeping the numbers so they haven't always stayed the same. So since December of 2021, we've sent notices to vacant structures and to abate substandard structures and bring them up to code by either securing it, demolishing it, or removing it. And some of so we've sent letters to a number of structures. I had the clicker. So right now we have 300, as of this morning, we have 335 potential substandard structures that we've identified. 117 of them are red, which is what we categorize as red. So it's a structure that's substandard and potentially dangerous. So maybe the roof's caving in, it's unsecured, it's got a roof falling in. There's 117 of them that meet those categories. 62 of them are yellow, which means it's substandard, but it's just it's unsecured. It's not necessarily dangerous, it's just unsecured. Green means that the structure is secured but still substandard. And then blue is secured and possibly substandard. So blue is a questionable. There's 12 of them that are like that. We just, from where we can see, we can't determine whether or not it's dangerous, not dangerous. We need to get into it a little bit further to be able to determine whether it falls in the red, yellow, or green. Next slide. So through this program, case files for 31 structures have since been removed. As I said earlier, the numbers kind of vary. So since we started this, 31 of them have been either demolished, secured, or just sometimes it was just maybe what was a structure. It was just a pile of rubble, and it's now been cleaned up. So some of them have voluntary. When we send letters out, they're taking care of it and getting it done. Next slide. So we've sent a total of 82 notices to secure vacant structures, and out of those, 33 of them have complied. One of them was secured by us. 31 of them are non-compliance currently, but have active work orders for the city to abate them. And then 2 of them are non-compliance right now. And 2 of them are in partial compliance, and 13 of them, notices of consent, are still waiting on a 30-day compliance timeframe. So it's a process, it's a long process that we have to send letters out through regular mail, certified mail, contact all the owners. Sometimes there's other interested parties, like lien holders, things like that. So we've got to make sure everybody's notified that this property is not in compliance. And then we've got to give them a certain amount of time to be able to get into compliance on their own. And then, so one of the things that we've done is we've added crews to our abatement crews that normally go out and mow weedy lots. We've added a second crew that's going to go out and start securing buildings. And so that we've already got 31 of them on the list for them to start working on. Since December 2021, a total of 4 notices to abate structures have been sent. Property owners, regular certified mail. 4 of those notice property owners abated them through demolition. So we've sent 4 for it. These were actually demolition orders or demolition requests that we've sent. 4 out of the 4, 2 of them complied, 2 of them are in non-compliance right now. Next slide. Building and Standards Commission duties and responsibilities. So part of this process involves our Building and Standards Commission. So if you guys will remember, some time back we came to you asking for appointments to the Building and Standards Commission, and this is where they fit in. The Building Standards Commission is a quasi-judicial body established by local ordinance to hear cases concerning alleged violations relating to the condition and minimum standards to existing residential and non-residential structures, premises, property, and establishments. So it consists of 5 members appointed by the City Council, and up to 4 alternates that each serve 2-year terms. So since you guys have appointed this commission, we've taken them. We hired a consultant that specializes in demolishing structures and this process, and they came in and trained our staff and everybody that's on the commission. We wanted to make sure that they knew what they were doing and knew what their responsibilities were, what they legally could do and couldn't do. So we hired somebody to come in and take care of that for us. Because it was also training for myself and our staff as well. We want to make sure we're doing things the right way. The workshop was held in March of 2022. Attorney Aaron Higginbotham with the Borquez Law Firm. So that law firm is, we're used to dealing with them. They put on a series called City Hall Essentials, where they talk about legal issues and things that are dealing with local municipalities. So the steps and timeline for demolishing a structure. As I said earlier, it's a process that we have to follow. Once identified, the property owners, we've got to send notices to all the parties. That's a 5 to 30-day time frame, depending on the mail. Sometimes tracking down some of these owners has been a task. We've had to get a little creative with our investigators and our code officers to try to find particular owners and make contact with them. But we work with the owners to correct and abate the nuisance. That can go from anywhere but 14 to 30 days. If the owner fails to correct the nuisance, the city staff places the property. We can place the property on the Building Standards Commission agenda for a public hearing. Notices for public hearings are sent to owners, occupants, lien holders, mortgagees, and any other party that has an interest in the property. The hearing must not be fewer than 30 days after the receipt of notices. So we've got to advertise that we're going to have this public hearing for at least 30 days before we can do anything. Next slide. After the 30 days is up, we hold a public hearing, and it's the city states their case on why we feel that the building should be ordered to be demolished, and then the property owners are allowed their chance to explain what they're planning to do with the property or why it should not be demolished. Once the order is issued by the Building Standards Commission, we've got to wait the 30 days before we can actually, we got to give them 30 days to demolish it. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer depending on what the arrangement is made between the Building and Standards Commission and the property owner. After the prescribed time or the order finishes, then the city may go in there and demolish it. However, they are allowed to an appeals process that goes before the state district court. Next slide. So if there's no appeal or abatement and the city demolishes the structure, the city can issue an invoice for the cost of the demolition plus a $200 administrative fee to the owners. The owner has 30 days to pay for the invoice. And if the owner doesn't pay, then we place a lien on the property, just like we do with any other abatement. And I will say some of the things that we've talked about are working with the owners. We're not necessarily in a rush to get into a lien with a property owner, but it's really more about the compliance. And so we're exploring ideas of working out payment plans with different property owners if we can do that to help make it easier on both the city and the property owners. Next slide. And that's just a little flow chart of everything that I just talked about. It kind of tells you what happens if, something happens. If it doesn't happen, it kind of just, you follow the little arrows. Next slide. Substandard structures, rating, ranking, general methods. So what we're working on right now is we're creating a committee or a group of individuals with that can help us, a panel of stakeholders, to help us prioritize which buildings need to be torn down. So what I think is important and what each one of you think is important, or which one should be torn down first, may differ, right? And so what we're looking for is a standard way to prescribe, say, okay, look, if this is what how we're gonna rate it, and we're gonna rate each one of them the same, so that way we're not picking on a certain property owner or anything like it's a standard method to be able to prioritize them. And so this committee is going to consist of stakeholders representing the police department, fire department, building construction, codes, city administration. Some of these present fire hazards. Some of them present criminal, or they invite criminal activity. This is, again, the chief's going to get up here and talk to you about putting these signs up there. Sometimes, when you have these vacant structures that are just sitting there wide open, it invites criminal activity to happen. And, a number of our structure fires have been in vacant structures. So, having those representatives on there was really important. Of course, our building construction and codes department are important as well, because determining whether or not the structure is sound, what may not look good to me, a building official may have a different opinion, a professional opinion on that. So we're going to include all of them to help us go through this criteria that on how to prioritize them. Next slide, please. So preliminary scores will be determined by an assigned official. So one of our code officers is going to give the initial rating once we develop the point system, and then from there it's going to go before this group, and they'll determine. So some of the things we're looking at are things like if it's on a major thoroughfare, if it's near a school, if it's got a past criminal history, if it's got a past list of fire code violations. So things like that, we're going to take all that into consideration when we're ranking these. Next slide. So again, this is just the red ones. This is not all of them. That's only the ones that we've determined are potentially dangerous. And so these are probably going to be the top of your the list once we go through and determine them all. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry. And then this is the Google. Are you able to click on that link? Click on that link. I was going to show you the map, show you the Google map and where you can click on it, and it's kind of a lot of work was put into that, and our code officers can all see it and go through it, and we're sending this over to the police department as well, so they can go to it. And Jim, if you would just open it up and just click on whichever one, just I want to kind of show them an idea of what it looks like and what it does.
His little mouse running out.
Yeah.
Making me dizzy, Jim.
He's like,
Go on, Lane.
So the idea is that, so all those little circles, you click on the circle and it brings up the address, it brings up the pictures, and all the information that we could gather on that particular property. And as time goes, we're going to be building those files. We also have a spreadsheet that we use that it kind of communicates with. And so as we're going through, we're building cases. Everything will be tied to this map. And once we present the cases to the Building and Standards Commission, we'll be able to show them pictures and a history of everything that we've done with this whichever particular property they're considering that day, to include fire reports, police reports, code reports, anything that's happened with that property to help us justify our reasoning to request an order for demolition. So
Our staff
next
spent
part is
staff spent a lot of time getting all this together. So we've been working on these, one by one as things come up, but there's so many of them that Patrick and the staff have put some structure and some organization into how we're gonna attack these. And so there's been properties we've demolished, properties we worked out a plan with the property owner, and those are, the easy ones to do, but as, time went on, we just realized there's so many, there needed to be a better structure, a better organization, to be more proactive, and they've spent a lot of time putting all this together. Doesn't mean that, it's still getting worked on, but we're trying to make it even better and more efficient.
So that we're currently looking for funding. We're looking for grant opportunities and any kind of funding we can find to help us, because a lot of this is gonna take some money to do. 335 structures, that's not an easy task to just come and say, hey, we gotta tear them all down. It could get a little expensive there, right? So, our goal is to try to seek funding, get some voluntary compliance, and, you definitely will be hearing more about this project, and, we'll keep giving you updates as time progresses.
Oh,
Right.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, for all your hard work.
Anything?
Thank you.
Yes.
Been a long time coming.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Is
Got,
Chief here?
Chief, then gotta see,
Oh,
is
there
gonna
he is.
talk about these next two items.
He wanted to make a grand entrance.
Before I get started, I just want to take this time to congratulate and thank our fire chief and the fire department for a great job, and it could have been worse. You had homes that were saved, you had businesses that were saved. So my hat goes off to them on behalf of the police department and myself. I'd like to congratulate them, say thank you for everything they've done. It was a hell of a job for them.
Oh, yes.
So, thank you, Patrick. Great job. So as you know, up here, you have the no trespassing signs. So working hand in hand with Patrick, one of the things that we came across was hoping to deter people from going into abandoned buildings. And then we also looked at situations like burglaries of homes. And a lot of times what's happening is you have a lot of individuals that maybe their families have passed on and the home is left alone and abandoned. And so people keep going into these homes, right? A lot of times there are some homeless or maybe they're involved in drugs and they're finding these homes because they're vacant. So what we thought was coming up with these signs, and it's free, and we're going to offer them free to our community, and we could go and place them in front of their homes. And I know you're going to say it's just a sign, but it's a step somewhere, right? It's a step in the right direction to try to deter crime in our community and try to help our people as much as we can. And so we're going to have them at the police department. Just have them come by. They can pick us. We'll be putting it on our social media page. We'll be also coming up on our newspapers. And so they can see when they can come by and start picking them up. They can register with the police department. What happens then is that once they have the sign, we get the address where it's at. That way, if something should happen, we already know that there's a sign out there. And if we have to make an arrest, we make an arrest. They can't say, well, we didn't know that we weren't supposed to, because by law, you have to have some type of trespassing sign in front of your home, right? No trespassing. So now you've got one, and it's free. You don't have to go to Sutherland's or and buy the no trespassing. You have one that we're more than willing to give to you, and at no cost at all. So I think that'll be pretty good for us. And then working with the homes that Patrick's also just spoke about, we'll also have them out there. So it's a win-win for all of us, and we hope we're going in the right direction to try to deter these people from going into our homes.
When you say homes, are you talking about just vacant homes or everyone's homes?
So we're looking, right now, we're looking at vacant homes and
Wanted to
homes
clarify.
that are dilapidated maybe, that the city's looking at and we're trying to keep people away from. We'll be posting these signs. Now, we haven't gone any further. Maybe it's your home and you want one. We haven't looked at that side of things, but I know it's going to come up because people are going to be asking. But I will have an answer for them soon.
Okay.
I still have to see what the regulations are and
Right,
stuff. And
right.
it shouldn't be a problem, but I just want to make sure that I'm right on that.
And is this for
And-
businesses too?
Could be, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, especially after hours.
Yeah.
They can have those. And where we saw these also was in Corpus. Corpus has them. And a lot of times you have businesses that have alleys, right? And they have them in back of their businesses. So we kind of modeled what they are doing. You know, why, just only because we thought it's a great idea. And so we can also use it in businesses. We can use it in homes and vacant homes, really, is what we're looking at. Because
Okay.
that's where we're seeing our crime problem,
Okay.
is that they're going into vacant homes.
And vacant businesses?
Yes, ma'am, too.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
And
Just
we'll be
wanted to
more than
clarify.
glad- No, not at all, ma'am.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and we will make sure of that.
Okay,
Vacant businesses and vacant homes.
there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other
Wonderful.
questions?
Next one.
You got the next one too?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, all right, I opened it, so you're
So
good.
thank
You're
you.
good to go.
So what we're looking at is a reserve program. And I don't think the City of Alice Police Department has ever had a reserve program. Not in my years, and we've looked at it. But I wanted to create a reserve program, and naturally, these officers are free. It doesn't cost the city anything. Now, there are some TCOL regulations that they have to live by. So they have to give 16 or volunteer 16 hours every month to the City of Alice. So how this all started was that we've invested a lot of money in one of our officers. He went on to be a manager, right, for community action, and which was great for us because it's an example of who we are and where we're going. And so to see that, we wanted to make sure we kept him to make sure that we continue with our trainings, which he continues to do. He's in my office every day. I don't know why he left, but he comes every day. And so, so to keep him going and keep him working with the Alice Police Department after hours on weekends, given his time, we needed to have a reserve program. So that's why we went ahead, and I did talk to Mr. Lemon, and we discussed it, and we thought it was a great idea. I know if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to me. So they can help us in patrolling our streets. They can help us at events. It's a peace officer, right? It's at no cost to the city. Now, I don't plan on having a whole lot of them. I was thinking maybe 3 at the most. But again, that's something that we're looking at. And so we're excited about that.
Can I do it?
Yes, yes, of course, ma'am. So, but that's pretty much it. Have any questions on that?
Any
On either?
questions? No?
I do, thank you. Thank you for
Thank
everything
you
do
so
for
much.
us.
Always.
I appreciate
Stay
it.
safe.
Thank you. And we'll move on to presentations. I'm going to open these up and then we'll go individually, but if y'all will bear with me. Okay, presentations 5.1, Key to the City of Alice, presented to Mrs. Lamar Salinas, wife of former Councilman Arnoldo Salinas. 5.2 is presentation of proclamation to Purple Door. 5.3 is presentation of proclamation for Black History Month. 5.4 is recognition for staff at Warming Center. 5.5 is recognition presented to Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corporation. And 5.6 is presentation from Bill Norris with Norris Leal, LLC. I would like to, if council will bear with me, I wanted to kind of go a little out of order. There's one of the organizations that's not here to receive the proclamation. We did present it at the Black History Month, so I just want to read that and then we'll move on. The proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, Cynthia A. Carrasco. Whereas in February 2023, we celebrate Black History Month to honor the significant contributions African Americans have made to our great nation. And whereas this annual observance is an opportunity to remember the challenges of our past, but also to honor countless African American heroes who inspire us to shape our country's future. And whereas our responsibility as citizens is to address the inequalities and injustices that linger, and we must secure our birthright freedoms for all people. And whereas this year's theme, Black Resistance, explores how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms, especially the racial terrorism of lynching, racial pogroms, and rogue police killings since the nation's earliest days. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Cynthia Carrasco, Mayor of the City of Alice, do hereby proclaim month of February 2023 as Black History Month in Alice, Texas. Okay. Thank you, and thank you to staff. They put some of the books in about history, Black History Month. And then if I see if they can pull up. Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to honor Mr. Arnoldo Salinas with a key to the city. He gave many contributions to our community and served our community, and I want to read a little bit of what was in his obituary. Mr. Arnoldo Salinas' obituary read, Arnoldo Salinas, age 82, peacefully entered into eternal rest surrounded by his loving family on Friday, January 27th, 2023. He was born in Hebronville, Texas on July 14, 1940, to Jose R. and America Salinas. Arnoldo was a 1959 graduate of William Adams High School in Alice, Texas. Upon graduation, he enlisted in the United States Navy, from which he was honorably discharged. After returning from his enlistment, he enrolled in Texas A&I University in Kingsville, Texas, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education. He went on to earn a Master's of Science degree with a Certificate of Administrative Leadership. In 1970, Arnoldo married his best friend and love of his life, Mrs. Lamar T. Salinas. They embarked on a 52-year journey together where they educated young minds, built businesses, including the infamous Adrian's Drive-In, the luckiest lotto store in town. They also traveled, volunteered their time to the church, taught CCD, and attended St. Joseph Catholic Church, where they were lifelong members. Arnoldo began his career teaching 6th grade at Mary R. Garcia Elementary School. He went on to serve as principal at Memorial School and then as director of bilingual education before finally serving as director of operations, where he retired from Alice ISD after 43 years of public service. Arnoldo also served as city council member on the Alice City Council, member of the Jim Wells County Appraisal District Board, and as president of the Pan American Golf Association. As a young man, he was part of Los, and I hope I say this correctly, Mutualistas? I'm sorry, baseball team. He was passionate about golf and very proud of his hole-in-one. And also a proud member of the 60-plus golf club. Arnoldo loved to hunt and watch his favorite baseball team, the Houston Astros. He also enjoyed gardening, bird watching, and most importantly, spending time with his loving family. I'd like to, at this time, if council would join me, to present the key to the city to the family of Mrs. Salinas. Y'all come on in. On behalf of the city of Alice, we would like to present to you the key to the city for the service that you and your husband have dedicated to us. And thank you for everything, and thank you for sharing him with us and with our city. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Yes. There you go.
And before y'all sit, Mr. Salinas, I have a few words to say.
Well, I'm by the mic, so I guess I'll talk. See, like to follow directions, so I was supposed to hold the mic. No, but on behalf of Arnold's wife, Lamar, and the entire family, we would just like to to sincerely thank the council and mayor for recognizing Arnold with the key to the city. There's a few things that he was passionate about in his life. First and foremost, it was always faith and family, and of course golf and his hole-in-one. And but he was very dedicated to public service, and he did I believe it was 3 terms on the city council in the mid '80s into the early '90s, and even after he quit, he was no longer on the city council. He still dedicated his time with numerous boards and committees, for if anybody needed help or needed anything from him, he was always dedicating his time, and he enjoyed doing that. So we just like to thank you all. I know it seems like a small gesture for you all, but I know he would have appreciated it, even though he would have been humble and he would have said his famous words were, "I don't know what the hoopla is all about." But, that's what he would have said, but he would have been very proud. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was very lovely. Thank you. It's right here.
Purple door? Yeah.
Might as well get them both.
Yeah. Come on down.
May I have the representative for the purple door? What is, the Met? Is Ms. Vasquez here for the purple door? Any representative for the purple door? They're not here? Okay. Well, we can read it. You want to get up?
This is in recognition of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, February 2023, issued by the Office of the Mayor. We all know that our youth are tomorrow's leaders. It is up to us as a community to ensure that those future leaders have a safe place in which to grow and thrive. Unfortunately, there is a silent threat out there that is affecting our youth at an alarming rate. The threat is teen dating violence. Teen dating violence can affect any of our teens and preteens, regardless of sexual orientation, economic status, race, and gender. It takes on many forms such as emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, coercive behavior, stalking, and other forms. This violence can occur anywhere and at any time, including in our schools and in online spaces. According to the yearly Texas statewide report published by the Texas Council on Family Violence, the youngest victim that died because of intimate partner violence in 2021 was 16 years old. According to the CDC, 1 in 12 high school students experience physical or sexual violence in a relationship. According to loveisrespect.org, many teens will not disclose their abuse to family or friends. Therefore, February has been declared National Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month since 2010. This February, we must come together as a united community to ensure that our teens are able to have safe and healthy relationships free of abuse. We do this by educating school staff and personnel and all those that may be interacting with teens to recognize the signs and effects of teen dating violence. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Cynthia A. Carrasco, Mayor of the City of Alice, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2023 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month in Alice, Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Next, like to present a recognition and thank you, a great thank you. We experienced very cold weather, and we had some volunteers that we opened up a warming center. And we had several volunteers throughout our community, not only our law enforcement, our fire department. We also had a local church that I'm going to tell you, we were forever grateful that you stepped up and did this for us, Precinct 1, Ventura. So if y'all will bear with me, I'm going to go through the certificates and. Precinct 2, yes. Okay, so this one is presented to Mr. Ventura Garcia. He was unable to be here for Precinct 2. Your service at the December 2022 warming centers and for providing shelter, dignity, and welcome for all residents who sought relief from the cold. This is presented to Mr. Ventura. Thank you so much. We'll get this to you. Is Ms. Jennifer Ruiz here? She's not? Okay. We'll present this to her. But Jennifer also is key at helping us at the warming center. The fire department? Okay, if we can have them step forward. It's the fire department and the EMS. They were out there, they stayed up and watched over everyone, so. Thank y'all so much. Come in. Come on in.
Morning, guys.
Save the spot.
Right here.
Y'all always don't get recognized, but, you know, we want to say thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Chief, you were there too, Chief.
Those guys are in the car right now, so.
Okay. So on behalf of the city, we want to just thank you, myself and our council members and our staff for all your hard work and what y'all always do day in and day out. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for so much.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, appreciate you guys. Appreciate it. Always. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And again, we also had a member from our community, or members from our community, the First Baptist Church. I'd like y'all to step forward. Don't be shy. We want to just thank our First Baptist Church. They actually set up and helped us with the initial warming center, and then they moved the location to their church. So, again, thank y'all so much. You don't know what this means to us, and to have a resource like that is priceless. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And that resource is always there for the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Oh, you've been awesome. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
One more time.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Oh, you have it. Another group that volunteers, bye. My neighbors. Another group that we would love to recognize and say thank you to, because You know, these young adults, they volunteer their time, and they have a great leader in Sergeant Lane, Master Sergeant Lane. Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay. And I just wanted to present this and let the community know, they volunteer and they don't ever, never say anything. They're always everywhere. Every time I go, they've gone to the adult daycare centers, they've gone to the parks, they're cleaning up, you know, our parks, picking up leaves in the hot sun sometimes. They've marched in the band, and they've just done, I mean, the band, my gosh, the parades, I'm sorry. And they've done so much for our community, and I want to thank y'all and recognize you, because we do see y'all, and we appreciate everything you do. And this is teaching you some great community service, civic duty. So you're performing your basic civic duty. Thank you so much for that. And I'd like to, on behalf of the city, would like to present this. You want it? Okay. So, accept this on behalf of the city. We want to thank you so much for all y'all do, and thank you so much. Thank you. Come in. Ah, can you take a, no. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate you very much. You're welcome. You're the future leaders. Appreciate you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Great group. Ever expanding.
I pay the bills and I get on the bus.
Make sure they get on the bus too.
Exactly, exactly. I will be there. Appreciate your support too. Any help, just call us. Thank you so much.
We also would like to ask our police department to step forward. They were key also during our warming centers, where they stood watch and protected us and kept us safe. So, don't be shy. We want to present this certificate in just recognition and thanking y'all for what you do for us. Y'all do this day in and day out. And they say, like, a lot of times you don't get the happy, warm, fuzzy feeling sometimes, but we know you're there, and we love y'all for it. So thank you so much. And on behalf of the City of Alice Council, everyone, staff, we thank you for all you do.
Thanks. Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. Good to see you. Thank you, brother.
Let's get over it.
Be careful out there.
Yes.
Yep, that should be it.
Okay. This photo? Okay, now.
Okay, these are the ones that didn't show.
Thank you, yes.
Sure. Where they walk out.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, appreciate the patience, but it's good.
Oh. Is that with the purple door? Is that with the purple door? We have the, okay. Okay, thank you, everyone, and that was a beautiful presentation for so many people. There's so many others we could thank, because there's a group of people within our community that are wonderful. We opened up 5.6, which is a presentation from Bill Norris with Norris Leal LLC. Thank you, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. It's good to be here. Happy New Year.
you.
I haven't been here since last year. But things have been happening. You have a report in front of you. I think the last time I reported, we were applying for a permit for the discharge, and it's gone through all the regulated time effort for advertising. All that is closed. Yeah, and we've had no negative comments related to the permit. So
Oh, good.
we hope when the next month or two, TCQ will issue the final permit for the city for the discharge of the concentrate into the creek there by the plant. The other thing that is a long lead time item is the environmental information document. Our consultant has walked the area, made his report, but one thing we're waiting on is there's an existing 18-inch line that keeps us from having to build a discharge line from the plant. The issue is, we've got to find it, and it might have been plugged, but if we make no disturbance to the creek, then we eliminate one of the federal reviews with the Corps of Engineers, which is the longest lead time. Not that we're trying to circumvent, but we're trying to minimize the impact of what we're doing. So I know that the city staff is working with us to locate that, we can survey it, and figure out how to make it work. So that's our goal right there. Plus, you save money by not having to build the pipeline. From the engineering standpoint, we continue to meet every other week or twice a month with 7Cs, going over all their drawings and requirements. And so it's really important in the sense that there's really two water treatment plants out there, and they have to play well together, so to speak. And the water qualities have to meet up. And I'll skip down to, there's a picture down here where we met with staff, operations staff today, to go over the operations of what is it going to be like when you get water from another source. You've got to blend it. And if you look at the second page, it's not really important, the actual numbers on the page, but that bottom graph shows the last 3 years of your peak day flows. And so the red line indicates the 2.7, 2.8 that you're going to receive from 7Cs. So every time that the water demand is above, the remainder of the water comes from your surface water plant. When it's below, then you won't be using any surface water. It will all come from the plant, from the new plant. And then the table above shows everything has to work by itself and together. So the second column shows where you're going to have really good high-quality water, but then you need to mix it with different parts depending on what the demand is for the surface water. So all that has to meet Texas TCQ standards in the water quality as it's mixed. So there's a lot to do, even though we're not designing the plant. We're basically creating an operational scheme for the staff to take care of. And it's going to take some time to, once we start the plant up, as you know, we have one well that is there. We designed the electrical so that we can, when we're waiting on the second well, we'll have water from the first well, and it will be starting up without full capacity, which is good. We need to start slowly when we have the water and the plant up and running so that we can, one, take 2 or 3 months of operations and teach the operators, and also not just the city's operators. I say our because I feel like I'm part of the city of Alice. So, but 7Cs needs to work together, and we've been working well together to, if we need something or they need something, it's been a pretty good relationship. So. And I kind of skipped around. You can read the rest of the things, but we're ready to go out for bids for the electrical. We'll send that to the Texas Water Development Board for their review and the city for their review, advertise that so we can kind of coincide with the schedule of 7Cs, which is going to be faster than we can go because our hands are tied somewhat. So anyway, that's things are happening in the background. And we're going to continue working with staff to make sure that everything they feel comfortable with what they're getting.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
Where are we at on the other wells?
Well, we can't even advertise or design the second well until the environmental information document is done. And so we're trying to cut that as short as possible, regulatory short as possible. And so we would anticipate we get that document into the summer, probably at the earliest. And then we can advertise, and the wells probably only take about 4 months to construct, but then you've got 2 months ahead to award it. So, probably 6 months, first of next year. And I doubt the plant will be done by the first of next year. Because Water Development Board won't let them start either construction until the EID is done, which would be the end of the summer. So it's a moving target, but we're moving as fast as possible on the regulatory side of it.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Brown. Mrs. Bowen?
Nope, just thank you for keeping us informed and up to date. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
I wanted to ask you just.
Okay, sure.
When you say, like, when we're looking at mixing water together, can you tell me a little bit more, like, kind of, just so I can understand that concept?
Well, I don't know if you remember Flint, Michigan.
Yes.
Okay, so Flint introduced a different type of water into the system that caused some problems within the system. So TCEQ is very, and we are too, is very, not concerned, but wants to make sure that those waters are compatible. So in that analysis that we did, we're showing it has to be the same disinfection system together, and we mix the water together before it goes into the system. And so we'll do that slowly, but they are compatible, and you just don't want to have a corrosive water
Right.
that may take, certain things off the pipe that goes into the system. So we're making sure that that is all proper.
If this were a brand-new system, going into a completely brand-new infrastructure, straight off the groundwater, and we're not blending, then there, you just have the simple chemistry to meet the guidelines of TCEQ. But since we're blending to a system that is an old system that we have, the chemistry's got to be just right to have that blend, and that's what they're spending a lot of time on, is making sure that that blend is going to be, that the chemistry on the water coming out is going to match exactly to the water that we have.
Did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah.
And there'll be a lot more detail,
Sure.
later on as we go through and everybody feels more comfortable.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
Right.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Okay. We'll move on to our consent agenda, agenda item number 6. All consent agenda items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and voted on separately. 6.1. Discuss, consider, and act upon approval of city council minutes for the January 17, 2023 city council meeting. 6.2, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution, A, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit grant application number 2989909, titled Local Border Security Program, to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division, for funds available for the fiscal year 2024 Local Border Security Program, LBSP, for the overtime and operational funds for the Alice Police Department. B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official. C, authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, to reject, to alter, or to terminate a grant on behalf of the city. And D, providing assurance that in the event of loss or misuse of grant funds, the city will return all funds to the Office of the Governor, Public Safety Office, Homeland Security Grants Division. Okay, council?
I didn't have any questions or concerns.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay with the consent agenda? May I have a motion?
Motion to accept consent items as presented.
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Molina?
Mr. Molina? Okay, so we have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Agenda item number 7, individual considerations. 7.1, discuss, consider, and act upon approving a final plat, amending the plat of a 5.172 tract being Ruby Estates, as shown on a map recorded in volume 12, page 79, map records of Jim Wells County, Texas. Said 5.172 acre tract, also being out of block 91, original town site of Alice, as shown on a map recorded in volume 1, page 63. Map records of Jim Wells County, Texas, and being the same tract described in a deed recorded in document number 466234, official public records of Jim Wells County, Texas.
Mayor and Council, this is a real, one that you guys had seen before. I don't know, remember what year it came through, but it's renaming, it's a development that never, was finished, and a new developer bought it and is just changing the names on, the name of the development site and the name of the street, from Ruby Estates to Flores, Estates, and the name of the street from, I forget the name of it was a girl's, Bella Drive, now it's gonna be Flores Drive. That's all that this one is. It's gone before, planning and zoning and was recommended for approval. No changes were, no major changes were made to the project.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mrs. Wallen?
Is this the property that's on Dewey by the railroad?
Yes, it's right, adjacent to the Alicia Manor on Wall Street.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burke? Mr. Molina?
Where's it at again? Sorry.
Wall Street, right adjacent, just south of the Alicia Manor, across from where the AEP yard's at.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Mr.
Thank you, Chief.
Crisp?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
If there's no discussion or any other questions, I'll entertain a motion on this agenda item.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the agenda item as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, 7.2, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting a resolution in support of the proposed mill pond at Alice Development located at approximately 2015 South Cameron, Alice, Texas, through the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, pre-application number 23147. Oh,
Here we have
hi.
a representative from Mill Pond here to present this.
Okay.
Well, I'll try to keep it short because you guys are familiar with us because we are the development group that just broke ground on the old hospital site.
Yes.
Awesome.
David Fournier, who's our lead and principal of our development group, sends apologies because he had a medical appointment that he had to take care of this afternoon, so that's why I'm here. Guadalupe Haciendas is an existing property in the southern part of Alice. It'll be our second development here in your town, and we are submitting application again to TDHCA for housing tax credits. And as part of that application process, we need support from the city. And that support is the resolution that hopefully you guys have in your packets. Along with that resolution of support, for any application that's submitted, there has to be a small amount of in-kind donation. In this case, it's $250, which is in there. If we could go to the next slide. So we'll skip over this. Like I said, you guys are familiar with us, and I can take some questions on us later if you need to. And then the next one, this just kind of tells you that although we're a young company, even though we have a lot of history in the affordable housing industry, we've only been developing since 2017. But in that time, we've gone through 8 different developments that we're currently in different stages with. And the majority of them, other than the one that's in Huntsville, are actually located in the Corpus and greater Corpus area. So we're here, we plan to stay here, and we'll be continuing to do developments here. Next slide. So we can skip over this, but I just kind of wanted to show you our most recent completed development, which is the one in Huntsville. I'm kind of proud of it. It's actually quite pretty. It's a little bit different for this development since it's existing, and there's only so much we can do with the buildings that are there. But most of our finishes, we pride ourselves on doing as high-end as possible. So getting back to Guadalupe Haciendas, as you know, it's off of Cameron, on a little bit over 8 acres. The buildings, there's 32 residential buildings, and they're all single-story, so they're spread out. Our architect was actually complaining because each building is quite unique, depending on the units, so they didn't pick a building type and just plop them down. They just kind of mishmash them so that they could get the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, or 3 and 4 bedroom units spread out across the property. If we'll go to the next one. So this is sort of the meat of the project. It was built in 1971, and a difference to the old hospital site development, other than the fact that we're going to be rehabbing, buildings that are already there, is that this property also has it's a HAP contract. So it's something that is administered by HUD, and it's tied to the development. And through this contract, the tenants only have to pay 30% of their income towards their rent, and then the rest of it is covered by this contract. And 100% of the units are covered by this contract. So, just keep that in mind. And the tenants who are currently living there won't be displaced. All we're trying to do is make sure that we're bringing their units up to current standards and hopefully beyond. When I actually sent this out, we were still working through the scoring of our application. As you guys might remember from previous time, it's a really competitive process, and every single point counts. But once we were able to go through the applications that were submitted by other people, we figured out that we had a little bit of wiggle room. So instead of $3 million and $35,000 per unit in rehab, we're actually aiming for $5 million and $60,000 per unit, which is great news for the property because it means that we're not only able to bring things up to a certain standard, but go beyond as we like to do. So as part of the scope, we're going to do the typical things that you would do for such an old property, which is replace the roofs, replace the parking lot, resurface, all of those things. But interior-wise, we're going to be replacing all the flooring, which in the end will also be important because we don't know yet, that the flooring that's in there right now has asbestos, and so if it's disturbed, that can cause a problem. When they overlaid it previously, what they did was that they just kind of maintained the flooring that was originally in there. Testing still has to be done, but it's in our budget to address that if that is the case. So that would be a good thing for tenants in general. But we're also going to, the photos that I showed you earlier of the stainless steel appliances and the granite countertops, that sort of thing we're going to be able to implement at this property because of the boost in amount of funding that we're able to go after. Another thing of concern at this property, I don't know how familiar you guys are with it, but it's been owned by a nonprofit for quite a while, and they did the best they could while, operating it. But they've had a history of having on average about 10 down units. And by down units, I mean they've remained vacant anywhere from 6 to 12 months because they didn't have the money to fix some of the major issues in that unit. So it wasn't like a simple, let me repaint it and clean it up and then release it once it became vacant. And that's especially sad for this development because of that subsidy that I mentioned earlier. Like, this is the best option for those who cannot afford safe, decent housing, even more so than some of our other tax credit properties because of that subsidy and only having to pay 30% of your income. So the fact that there are on average 10 units that could access this rental subsidy and provide this housing that have not been available is, I think, one of the best things about this rehab is that we'll be able to bring those back up and have them constantly available for occupancy. Another thing to consider is that because of the age of the property, it was grandfathered as far as accessibility requirements. So under current rules and this program's rules, we're going to have at least 5% of the units that will be mobility accessible, which means that fully accessible to someone with a wheelchair.
Good.
And then 2% of the units, which will be hearing and visual accessible. So if we go on to the next one. Just kind of wanted to give you a visual of where it is, although I think most of you know where this is. And then also the next one, this is just an aerial. You can see how spread out it is. And from what I understand, that corner where the streets intersect is pretty busy. So it's a highly visible area of town from what I understand. So right now, if you kind of drive by there, it's kind of, I want to say sad, but it is kind of sad. The buildings are older, not as well maintained as you would like. So it'd be nice to spruce it up and have like something visually appealing as you're driving through town. And then the next one. So this is just an indication from an old set of plans. We're getting new ones drawn out of how spread out the units are. Again, they're single story, so it looks like a lot of units, but it's actually just the 80, but there's so many buildings because they're not stacked on one another. And then the next one. I won't go through every single unit. You have the information in your packet, but I kind of wanted to give you an idea of, what's happening. So this is the one-bedroom unit. There's only 6 of these. And right now, the rent that is available or that is being charged is $513 on paper. But of that $513, again, the tenant only has to pay 30% of their income, and then the rest of it is covered by that subsidy contract. So typically, if this were a tax credit deal, that rent would actually be a little bit higher at the 60% level. And you would only be able to qualify at the lower level at that $14,970 annual income for, let's say, a single-person household or even a two-person household. But because of the HAP contract, the subsidy that's there, it goes all the way down to 0. So there could be a household that is not making much at all, let's say only receiving Social Security for disability or something like that, that would still be able to afford to live at this property. And with that, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom because there's a lot of different types of units. And I don't want to go too much into tax credits in the program unless you want me to. But I will tell you that, again, just kind of reiterate this resolution of support. Of course, we want the city to support the deal, but it's actually a key part of our application in order to compete. And based on what we know so far, with the pre-applications that we've received, there's only one other property that's in Kingsville that's competing with this one. But information that we've gathered, we're pretty sure that this is the deal that's gonna get funded. So with that, any questions?
So similar to the last project, the last one with the fish pond at the old hospital, there was just 2, and they're both here. So, and they won that one, and now once again, there's only 2. One's in Kingsville, one's here in Alice, and so one's going to get the award. And, I talked to David several times, Fournier, and he feels pretty comfortable that they'll be able to get this project completed, and they have a pretty good track record. And thank you for getting all that work done at the fish pond and the demolition. and,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish
Moving
we'd
fast.
been able to move more quickly, but circumstances.
That thing's been sitting around long enough, so what you're doing now is very quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's all.
Yeah, it's
prepared for
very,
COVID, but
very
we're
quick,
prepared
so we're
for,
very appreciative as to what's
yeah.
going down, so.
So we're hoping, and the thing is that we're presenting this deal and structuring it right now in sort of a difficult time still, right? Interest rates are high, materials are still high, syndication rates, which is who buys these tax credits, are low. We want more of that, and we want it to be high, but it's low. So what we're structuring now, in order to get through the process, is actually very conservative. So hopefully things don't get any worse than they are now. I think they'll get better, so it'll be a healthier deal down the road because we've had to kind of constrict it based on what's going on right now.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Molina? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you.
Once you actually see, if everything goes well, obviously there are residents there now, so the process in order to move through on this, what kind of a time frame are you looking at? Because I have a feeling you're going to be shuffling, residents around as you do this. So, 80 residential homes, even with the 10 that are empty, that's a lot of shuffling. So what kind of time frame do y'all foresee? Just
So, a lot of the work, we won't have to shuffle tenants. So a lot of the work that we're going to be doing will be on the exterior and moving HVACs off of the roofs and onto the ground so that we don't have this issue, and replacing the roof. But you're right, once we get into the interior part, which we do want to do a substantial amount of work in them now that we have more funding, we will be shuffling tenants around, but our hope is that they won't be shuffled off property, like is the case in some instances. I'm sad about the 10 units that are down, but it's actually a good thing for this renovation because that means that we have those 10 units to move tenants into. And they'll get the option of either staying in that unit that they moved into, if it's the same type, like if they're moving from a 2 to a 2, or moving back to their unit once it's renovated. So it's up to them how many times they're being shuffled. They'll be shuffled once. And we typically, for a rehab, have what's known as sort of like a courtesy lounge, which is, sounds fancier than it is. It'll be in the community building. So during that day where they're being moved, which we pay for the entire move, they'll have a space to go to have like a meal during the time that that move is happening, and then get placed in it. No one is going to, based on the plan, have to spend even a night off-site. So I hope that answers your question.
the only question was the
The
total
time?
duration, yes.
Yeah, so
the estimate.
we are, again, being conservative. Our GC said that it could take as little as 2 weeks for each unit
Per
to
unit,
be
yeah.
the interior work where they would have to be out of it to be completed. I've scheduled in a month, and assuming 10 each time, we'll be able to do it in under a year.
Oh, wow. And I love the idea of this personally because you're taking a utilized facility, unlike don't get me wrong, I love the progress being made over here, but you're taking, something that the residents actually already live in and reside in, and you're giving it, making it more homely, hopefully, for them. So, no, I really appreciate that you are moving forward with this. So, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Molina?
I'm just kind of following what Councilman Chris said. Just I really appreciate you coming in and finding some value in a place that has kind of been overlooked for years, and it's going to be nice to have a different facade out there, just kind of something more to look at.
We're really excited to not just have the one property, but to have
Sure.
presence that's not just seniors, but also family. And
Right.
so this is, we consider a great opportunity too.
And you'll all be changing the name as well.
Yeah, I kind of skipped over that, but
Oh, it's okay.
once we're
I'm just
done,
curious.
we'll be calling it Mill Pond at Alice, which
Nice.
Fish Pond is for our seniors, Mill Pond is for our family deals.
Well, it's going to be a huge makeover, and I really appreciate it, and like I said, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No, I'm good.
Mrs. Moore?
Well, I'm on the same page as with the councilman here. This is something our community needs, especially those residents at Hacienda, you know, to have someone go out there and really give it some TLC, you know, so it's great, and I can't wait to see it. I mean, you know, right now, it's like the hospital, you know, it was an eyesore for a while, so it's gonna look really nice. They're gonna feel proud to be there, and that's what our community needs. Appreciate it. Appreciate all your hard work. I know it's a
We're
lot.
just beginning, so I feel like I've been here like every other week, so.
Yes.
The gold shovel's ready.
Have the gold shovels ready.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you so much.
Yes.
No?
I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna tell you why, a lot of people don't know this, but, when I was looking at the map, I got some flashbacks. I actually used to live there. The one with the big yard in the corner, that was my apartment when I was
Aw.
3 or 4 years old, something like that. So that's just a pretty cool project.
Right, to see it
I'm not
come
trying
like.
to tell you guys to support this project.
No,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
it
you
is
so
great.
much. Okay. All right, Council, if we have no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, make a motion adopting a resolution as presented.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you so much. And God willing, we'll get this.
Thank you,
We're
Lisa.
looking forward
I'm
to
actually gonna sneak out, I'm sorry.
your.
Oh, you can't leave? Yes.
Turn the camera. Watch her
Thank
leave.
you.
Be careful.
Bye.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, so, geez, so sweet. 7.3, discuss, consider, and act upon awarding the contract for Texas CDBG, contract number CDV 210275, addendum number 1 to base bid for materials/equipment for wastewater infrastructure improvements. Mr. Esparza? Well, Ms.
Barbara's gonna-
Ms. Reeves?
Yes.
Hector Castaneda from Ardura Engineering will
Hi.
present the recommendation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Hello, welcome.
Good evening. Hector Castaneda with Dura. We received bids February 16th, this last Thursday. We received 2 bids. The low bidder was from Ferguson for a total amount of $205,393.78. This is just materials sewer line for the work we're going to be doing on King Street and Aransas Street. We were recommending to go with the low bidder, but I know there was an issue with them not providing a bid bond that was requested in the bid advertisement.
A bid what?
Bid bond?
Bond.
Yeah, it's 5% of the bid.
Got it. Thank you.
And usually, yeah, that's usually with the construction when they do the labor and stuff like that, but I know it was mentioned in the bid advertisement.
So,
So,
yeah,
I believe-
legally, please.
So the long and short of it is, this is what we're talking about, Barbara, that we're gonna have to go out for bids because it's not an informality that we can just simply ignore and say, hey, Ferguson, you need to add this. And so, based upon what staff has suggested, it's gonna be inordinately expensive if we go with the bidder that actually provided the bid bond. And so we're not gonna ask you to take any action on the item, but they'll go ahead and resubmit or submit requests for new bids for the same project.
We're asking that you reject.
Yes, yeah, reject the bids, I'm
Reject
sorry.
the bids that were submitted, and we're gonna rebid the project.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the way, what she said.
Okay.
Okay.
Because as Hector stated, the invitation to bidders had a provision for a bid bond, and it said a bid bond in a certain amount shall be submitted with the bid.
Yeah, 5% of the bid.
And see, as we discovered, that, and with projects like this, if it's a government project, and it's gonna be over $100,000, they have to provide a performance bond. It's gonna be over $40,000, they have to provide a payment bond. And that, the bid bond is just basically a statement saying that we have sufficient surety and have bonding to cover a performance bond and a, payment bond. So,
John, can you reiterate the fact that we have no legal obligation to accept bids as
No,
presented at this point?
You have no legal obligation.
Just because they've been submitted?
You have no legal obligation. You can either accept or deny it. And, and I guess the short and sweet way Barbara told you the way to do it. Just staff and myself, we request that you reject the bids and allow them to go out for new ones.
Yeah, and you would have to reject the bids to allow us to go back out and advertise.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, council.
So we need a
Do we
motion.
need a motion
And a
for-
second and a vote.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion at this time, council.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation to reject the bid and re-enter the bid process.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Mr. Burke. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Had to make it confusing for you, John.
Okay, 7.4, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting an ordinance appointing 6 members to the Board of Directors for Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 1 Downtown Program. Mr. Esparza.
Arlene's going to present this item on the TERS and the next one as well.
Yeah.
He's been working on this.
Do you want me to open the other one too, or?
Let's open them both
or-
together.
no? Yes? Okay.
Yeah,
Mayor, whatever you want.
and then you can have two.
This is 6.4 and, 7.4 and 5?
Can be, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open up 7.5. That way you'll be able to discuss both, okay? 7.5, discuss, consider, and act upon adopting an ordinance appointing 13 members to the Board of Directors for Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 3, City of Alice Saddle Creek Development Program. Okay?
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Arlene Medrano. I put together this PowerPoint for myself last year as I was learning about the TERSs that were established here some time ago. So I just thought that would be helpful to remind everyone and to let anyone learn about it who maybe wasn't on council at the time. So the basics of the existing TERSs that City of Alice has is TERS 1, which is a City of Alice development project, and that became effective December 31st of 2014 for a term of 15 years. And there was 100% participation or committed participation from the city and the county. And I'll go into where these are located geographically in the next few slides. TERS number 2 is San Diego Creek Estates. And that one we have, but the developer wants to go ahead and cancel the TERS, so I really won't talk about that. But we do have continued interest in TERS number 3, the Saddle Creek development, which became effective April 23rd of 2015 for a period of 16 years and 8 months. It expires in 2031, and that one had a commitment of 100% from the city and the county. Oh, point that way, okay. So TERS 1, that area is non-contiguous. So we have the area around the multi-use facility and then the downtown. So it was described in the ordinance, in the adoption ordinance, as 413 acres of public and privately held land located in the west quadrant of the city and historic and traditional downtown area. And it had the net taxable value in 2014 as 425, and the assessed value is 5.2 million. And then TERS 3, that geographic information was described in the ordinance as 44.88 acres in the Saddle Creek subdivision, which was vacant land in northwest quadrant of the city with a net taxable value of 425,000 in 2015. It didn't have an assessed value listed in there. The powers and duties of the Board of Directors. So the Board of Directors of a reinvestment zone shall make a recommendation to the governing body of the municipality. So the board, there was a board established, or the most recent board was 2018 to 2020. And so
the TERS board isn't the ultimate deciding board. Those decisions still have to go to the council. However, the city could assign their duties to the TERS board, so essentially you're not having the same items go to both boards, but in this case, the boards are not identical, and so I wouldn't recommend that. So the TERS 1 board in 2018, they served 2-year terms, and that was the board from 2018 to 2020, and that's how the ordinance was listed. It didn't have specific names. And then this is the proposal for today for the board. It would be all of city council members plus the Jim Wells County appointee, and Judge Trevino is taking an item to Commissioner's Court so that they can vote on who they want to appoint. And then we would bring it back over here once they identify that to add them to the board. And then this was the TERS 3 board from 2018 to 2020. Wow, I'm barely pushing it at all. And then this is the proposal for today. That's all I have. So.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Medina? Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
We need to make 2 separate motions on this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if there's no further discussion or questions in reference to agenda item number 7.4, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
If I may, I would suggest on the first item, and actually kind of both of them, that on agenda item, and I apologize, Mayor.
7.4 and
On
7.
agenda item 7.4, just to move to approve or appoint board members as presented
As
by Ms.
presented.
Medrano today, and then similarly on 7.5.
That's what- okay. If you're still ready to accept, I'll make the motion to accept the board as presented by Ms. Medrano today.
Second.
Yes.
Yes. Mhm. Okay, so we have a motion for agenda item 7.4 by Mr. Chris and second by Mr. Burke. Thought you were going to say something, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. I will entertain a motion for agenda item 7.5.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt an ordinance appointing the members as presented today by Ms. Medrano.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, so,
Thank you.
oh, you're gonna be presenting the next one too? Okay.
Yes.
7.6, discuss and consider entering into a memorandum of understanding with Jim Wells County, Texas for the purpose of revitalizing the downtown Alice district and attracting greater business traffic there too.
And Mayor and Council, Arlene and Patrick have been working closely with the county on these funds. These are the ARPA funds that they're going to allocate to the city, and so they're working on this. And of course, city attorney's been working on this as well as far as the MOU.
I just reviewed what Arlene did.
Okay. Okay. So this is a good news item. This is funding that the county, they're not giving it to the city. The arrangement or the agreement will be that they purchase the amenities for downtown, and then the city install and maintain them. And so right now, we're looking at receptacles, trash cans for the downtown to replace the ones that rusted out and have been removed over the years, and benches, to add some benches to downtown. And we're also looking at, once the MOU is approved by both entities, by the city and the county, I believe they'll be taking their MOU to the Commissioners Court at their next meeting, so probably the first week of March. We'll look at some an infrastructure project that we may be able to do with the funding available. Won't be anything really big potentially, but we'll see what we can do with about $160,000.
Take what we can get.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get. We're gonna price some things out. But for sure, we can do the trash cans and the benches, and I think those will really add a lot to the downtown, you know, especially for all the parades that we have. There'll be benches for folks to sit down. You know, it's a nice stretch of several blocks, and so to have people sit and sort of, you know, have the downtown that people, sort of the historic downtown that you might be used to. You shop, you sit, you know, have a drink, and you chat, and it's sort of, you know, a place to spend some time
Yeah,
and
so
enjoy.
looking at benches, trash receptacles, benches, and also some of the banners that go downtown.
Right, and the
Already there.
banners.
Nice.
And then seeing what kind of money would be left for some piping or infrastructure that we can use and they can purchase for us and
That's
we
needed.
can install. So we're looking at all those things.
Very nice. The only question I have is, it says 18 months. Is that just because of the secondary part with the piping or any infrastructure that you talked about? Because it says here that bring these projects to completion within 18 months. Does
Yeah.
that mean it's not going to take that long? You're just saying that you plan on getting it done?
Right, and, you know, we don't have to include that clause. We talked about that with.
Well, I'm not worried about it. I
with
just
the-
want to make sure it's actually moved on, not drug out for 18 months.
Right.
Oh, right,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
so.
absolutely, absolutely. It'll happen.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes you see that.
This
that-
calendar year for sure, you know, definitely this fiscal year, you know, the trash can and the receptacles will be soon after the commissioners approve, you know, the MOU on their side, and we can actually, you know, send them the invoice to make the purchase, and then those will be installed in the next few months. But the infrastructure project, if we do find that there's enough funding to do something like that, we just wanted to give ourselves enough time.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I'm excited to see this. I know it was been talked about for months and months, and to actually see it come to fruition. Well, we still have one more meeting after this one, but
Yeah, anything to make it more inviting, and, you know, we can hold hands with the county, that's even great, so.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Arlene, I appreciate it.
thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen?
How many receptacles are we talking about on each block?
On each block, probably two.
Like two, one on each, and then
One
our,
or two.
the city will be responsible to pick them up and
Yes,
all
ma'am.
that. That's wonderful.
Yes, yes. So right now, there are only two in the downtown. And
Right.
so our solid waste crew, they do pick up the trash in those. And so with the added receptacles, they'll pick the trash up in those, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for all your hard work on this, and attorney and Michael,
And Pat,
Patrick, everybody. I know it's a lot of moving parts.
And with the TERS also,
yes.
Yes, that too,
What's that?
the TERS.
Oh, yes, Sam.
all that too.
I want to say thank you too, and then also to Mr. Commissioner Ventura, because
Yes.
I know him and his team have been really key to
Absolutely.
being gracious, to be open to the discussions and dedication of funding. So hopefully, God willing, yes.
Yes.
So seeing so much more collaboration, more and more and more,
Yeah.
it's like awesome.
Yes,
you know,
I
so
agree.
Thank you so much for working with
Yes.
with our county and our staff and everyone. So
Yes, ma'am.
thank y'all. Okay. If there's no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion in reference to this agenda item.
Mayor, I make a motion to enter into a memorandum as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This guy.
Maybe.
This
maybe.
guy.
Good evening, how are y'all doing?
Already
Gabriel,
giving you a
how
hard
are you?
time.
Doing well, doing well. Sorry, is it,
Always save the best for last.
oh, at the door? I'm sorry. Okay, all righty, financials for the fourth month ending January 31st, 2023. Our general fund revenues are $3,992,119 year-to-date. Property tax budget was $985,000, and year-to-date, we show $1,374,904. I apologize. Okay. Exhibit B, we have our M&O and INS 2023 of $3,213,532, and it's roughly $87,000 above budget, above last year at this date. Bear with me, we will. We're gonna put this in the budget, I promise. Can we go to A? I'm sorry.
Batteries, maybe?
Can we go to A?
The sensors
A, yes, sir. I apologize. Promise I'm not trying to prolong. Okay, Exhibit A, sales tax budget. Sales tax was budgeted at $2,032,000, and we're showing $1,174,050, and that's through November. So on Exhibit C? Yes, sir. Exhibit C, this is sales tax budget versus actual, and this includes the month of December. December's collection was $703,795, or $196,000 above target. Just for reference, last year it was $539,951, so we did see a jump this year. 2023 budget was $1,524,000, and we have actual $1,877,845. So we're $353,845 over budget. Exhibit D. We have actual 2023 versus actual 2022, and we saw an increase of $381,086 over previous year to date. Exhibit E. We have our general fund expenditures. Year to date, we have expended $4,984,329, and that's roughly at 36%. At this point in time, we'd like to be around 33%, so we're pretty close to that. Some of our larger departments, we have our fire department, police department, they're sitting roughly at a 38 and 37%. Overtime, some repair and maintenance items. Command center, we've touched on with the 217%, that's the siren system we're working on. Inspections, we're at 68%, that's from our inspector services, so we're gonna look into that a little bit to see what's going on there. Exhibit F, revenues versus expenditures for all funds. The general fund, we show a negative $992,210, and again, that's just for reference because we're 2 months in arrears of sales tax. You plug in the 703, and that gets us pretty close. Solid waste, we're negative $163,164. A lot of that's repair and maintenance, unfortunately, rentals. $90,000 alone was spent on dozer repairs that we're hoping to get going. Utility fund is at $113,305, and we did do a transfer for debt service of $886,000, so take that into account. It's a one-time for the year. The final slide is revenue over expenditures comparing 2022 and 2023. General fund last year was at a negative $1,115,843, and like I mentioned, we're at a negative $992,210. Last year, solid waste was a negative $275,888, and now we're at a negative $163,164. And the utility fund last year was at a negative $157,628, and now we're at $113,305. So that's basically just doing a comparison. That way we can see what we looked at last year to where we are right now. That's our presentation. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Mr. Chris?
I just want to, we had a intense budgeting season here recently, and I know y'all did a lot of work, and it's showing dividends here in the savings and movement of where we're going to apply funds and everything. And thank y'all for y'all's hard work, and staff just, you make it relatively easy when you do the job ahead of terms and time, and then you show up and give us these kind of numbers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Molina?
Thanks for all y'all do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark?
Thank you very much for your department.
Make us look like we know what we're doing.
No, your support is greatly appreciated, believe me.
Mrs. Boyd?
I just have one question. You might have answered this last month. Under The fire and the police department and Exhibit E, their year-to-date budget is higher. Is that due to the builds?
It's higher?
Well, isn't it?
Yeah, we've spent over budget.
Right.
On those, yes, ma'am, because of overtime, or overtime's.
Oh, it's overtime?
Overtime in there. For PD, we had the purchase of one of the white wrench vehicles, but the way that worked is we received the check for our fiscal year, so it's kind of making it look like they're over budget,
That's
but
right.
really it's just because of accounting. The money's there, but I apologize.
It's all right.
Oh,
No, you're
yes, sir.
doing good. I'm just going to raise my hand.
Oh, okay.
And ask you a question.
I was like,
He thought he was in
now.
trouble.
I'll stop now.
No, and then with the budget, there's certain grant programs that after we've paid, we can reimburse.
They get
for the
reimbursed.
overtime and those types of things.
Okay. I just want to make that clarified. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Looks
I
good.
got taken off the floor.
Hey, if Pete and them can give you a hard time, I have to try.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions, and forgive me on some of these. I know some of these were skewed because of the TML one-time payment
Right,
and stuff.
yes, ma'am. Debt
But-
service due in February and making
Yeah,
transfers.
there were a couple of questions I had in reference to some of the big payments that were made, and I just wanted to know. And I did this because I wanted to kind of go through it, and maybe you can explain it to me, but I first want to do the check registry, if that's okay?
Yeah, no.
Okay, and I know we did, there was and forgive me because I was trying to do it, I was trying to be modern. I don't know what happened, I didn't save it, I guess, because everything I highlighted is gone.
Gone.
So now I'm like, oh, man. Let me see. So, let me see.
If you go to the right, the final column, those are check numbers. So if you,
Oh,
if you
okay,
give me that,
instead of, okay.
it'll probably help a little bit because they're,
And I'm saying, the 42,792 I don't have a ruler here, but.
it was for repairs, for repairs. I don't have the unit
Oh, it's
number. I
the little one?
apologize. But
I
the
don't know that
42
one.
to Holtcat,
AS, what is that
it's for several different repairs on different units for
Oh,
Holtcat.
okay. Okay. And then there was, 25. That one I know what that was for. I know what those are for. There was another. The Kansas Golf and Turf, was that improvements at the golf course or
Kansas.
42,000
Oh, yeah, it was for a greens mower.
for a mower?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Did that come out of the,
Capital.
The cap-
yeah,
golf
it's
course
one
capital
that you-
improvement fund?
No, it wasn't out of, it was a capital.
oh, the capital improvement fund that
Yes.
we approved?
That you approved, the capital.
And then there was this, I'm sorry. LNL Builders LLC. It's $38,060.
That's for the AC here on, the AC for third floor.
The AC?
Yes, ma'am, and also, and for some repairs at the fire department, Station 1.
Okay. Let me see. And then the, let me see, was it this? That Totter?
Toter,
Eh, what is it?
Toter, those are the trash cans. the
Yeah, trash can lids,
Oh.
cans and lids.
Okay, here you go, I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, so you forgive me, I just wanted to ask you on these. And it's too small for me to go in that thing and I get lost. So it was easier to put it on a, to blow it up board, I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
And then for the council, it's a consolidated fund summary.
Yeah, it's page 90,
We have it in our book.
page 90. Well, in the PDF, I don't know what it is on yours.
Okay, so when we're looking at this, we see, of course, that's what we budgeted. and
Correct.
Adopted, and then what we plan our expenditures are gonna be.
Right, and then the next,
And then this
oh,
one-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, that's Down the line, yes, adopted is what's the budget.
And this, we understand, is because of that one.
The accounting, the auditor's changing the way we're gonna do it, yes,
Was
ma'am.
it 7 million?
Closure.
Yeah, like the post-closure and other liabilities and depreciation that we're gonna be,
And that's why we're showing this, but it's
Correct.
not a true.
next audit, we'll get it,
They corrected that.
they'll correct it,
Oh,
yes.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then, so these funds that we're carrying that are negative, those are expenditures that we've already done, or we just haven't shifted?
Shift it back over to the other side, yes, ma'am, it's something every year, yes.
Okay, we just keep carrying it over.
Right.
Is what we're doing.
Like, from this, last year, yes, ma'am, because it's not making, correct.
So, so when you do all these, you go down the line, then what I am looking at, when I see revenues and expenses, sorry.
No, you're good.
Right there at the very bottom, we show that it was $36,343. Very bottom. When you take all.
Everything in the account, yes. Yes.
Sorry.
It's all right. They don't need to look at Oh, it's my microphone.
Yes, ma'am, when you take everything into account.
That was his mic.
Oh, it was John's.
Yes. Excuse me.
This is what we're done.
When you take everything into account, yes, ma'am.
This isn't including, like, we have the appreciation fund.
Right.
We have those things. But this is the.
Because our budget,
excluding
right.
this.
It's,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I was like, well, so, is there a reason why we carry these negatives over and over and over, and not just zero them out?
They don't go away.
yeah, you can't.
You're talking about the 2023, so like where we are, the 1.2?
Huh?
You're talking about from on the adopted versus the year-to-date?
No, she's talking about like, say for instance, the golf course fund, that
Oh,
the
the-
beginning balance is 213. You can't just, right.
It's like a checkbook. You
Right.
can't just say it's zero the next year. It still carries over a negative balance.
So we're just carrying it over and over until we can close that gap? Is
Right.
what we're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
See, and just
So,
as a point of reference, when we, I want to say it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, with the multi-use complex, we had at one point tried to make it a zero, and John brought forward that we can't actually do that.
I don't
so-
think you said that. I believe that what he did say is that we're supposed to balance out and not carry.
Or maybe it was the auditor.
Right,
End of the year.
correct?
At the end of the year, we're supposed to balance the budget out, and then we start a new year.
Yes.
Right.
But you can carry it on your balance sheet as the debt, however, it's just in our budget, we need to go ahead and it clears it out, and we have a zero balance. And we had a long discussion about that. We went to the geniuses at TML.
That's who it was.
And
Somebody had
they
presented
were-
it that way.
Well, and I presented it that way to you all, but
Yes.
after we had those discussions, what the statute says, what the Constitution says about how we cannot carry a debt. We cannot run a deficit budget, so we can't have a budget that lists a deficit as it's there.
But these are budget items, not budgets, right?
And I don't understand necessarily what the mayor is getting into at this
I
point.
just kind of
Yeah.
wanted to see and understand this,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to understand it. I want to understand. It's not anything,
Right.
anything against anybody.
I got you, but I just don't know the point of reference that you're coming from, but at the end of the year, we reconcile, and the new budget does not, we don't budget these negative
As
amounts
negative, right.
in your coming accounts. When you look at your check registers, things like that, the negatives are still gonna be there. They
Right.
don't just-
Right.
Well, that was the problem, because when I first came in, all these numbers look great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the natatorium, it looked like it was making money almost, and I'm like, hey, there's some, where are all these transfers, where are they? Then,
Yeah.
I remember we talked, maybe Roland.
Well, and I really don't
been
want
like that for a
I really
while.
don't want to expand the issue, because we've had a lot of discussions about this, that talking about it really doesn't have anything to do with zeroing out your budget at the end of the year and not being able to carry a debt from your past budget into this new budget. As far as y'all's accounting practices, you want to keep track of general revenue fund transfers. I know there's been a lot of questions in regards, well, why do we do that? And because they do that. I mean, that's the accounting that they do, but as far as this goes, is that we do not carry a deficit into the new budget.
Right, but we're talking about, the difference is we can't carry a deficit into the new budget, but that's for the budget. But budget items themselves can be negative.
Sure, and they typically are in the beginning of the
Yeah,
year.
because these are budget items. These aren't our budget as a whole is always balanced or positive,
Right.
right? These are specific budget items that are carrying negative balances because we have to.
Right.
This is what we anticipate coming in and what we anticipate on expenditures. But I guess what I want to make sure is to understand it. And I'm a seasonal person here because we don't know, we're here for a certain time. But I would love to know, because if we go into budgeting cycle, I want to understand it and have a better plan.
And I think Mr. Crisp explained it generally, is that, don't misunderstand, is that the city does not operate at the deficit at the end of the year. That you had a certain idea from members of council, Mayor, that wanted to be able to keep track of all the money that wanted to keep track of all the money that the city was spending on different projects, and then have those expenditures listed as a deficit. It's like, well, no, those are expenditures. The city had the money. We didn't go out and borrow funds to pay those things. Those ultimately got paid, and we don't have a negative balance on these accounts. It's just those are expenditures. And so I don't know, as far as the budget goes, we don't operate at a deficit. Legally, we cannot, and so we do not carry a deficit in our budget. As far as the expenditure goes, I think Mr. Chris explained it. These are our anticipated expenditures, and here's where we're at based upon our yearly budget amount versus what we spent now. And maybe at that picture, we're at a $200,000 deficit or $20,000 surplus.
And the only reason I understand, we could always back up and not spend that much, and then we won't show a negative.
Well,
I get that.
and on some things, but it's really hard on the prepaids that you have in the beginning of the year. And mainly because as a government entity, we have to use modified accrual. And on modified accrual, one of the big things that happens is your revenue is treated as cash. And if you're a regular company or nonprofit or something, or your revenue is not treated as cash, when you send a bill, you can record that journal entry, and we can't do that. And that's what happens, so we don't get tax payment. We would be able to record based on our budget whenever a tax statement got out. But here, we have to record it when the money actually comes in, which is good for a government entity.
Right.
But
I
yeah.
want it just for us to
Yeah.
keep in mind, just for budgeting purposes and stuff, to keep that in mind, because we never, if we continue the trend and spend what we say we're spending, and we don't adjust it, we'll always have that negative. And it does impact the overall. Our general fund's gonna show fine, because we're saying we're budgeting this and we're expensing this. It's a balanced budget. But when you see all of it in totality, that's what I'm asking, just keep that in mind, because it's really different, that's what I was kind of.
If you look at it, the only ones that are actually hitting us hard are your quality of life ones, right? That's your golf course.
Your enterprise funds.
Well, the enterprise fund, the only one that actually is doing that is the solid waste. And if you remove the fact that we have $3.2 million in a closure fund, we're actually doing a lot better than we have been.
In our closure fund, we have 1.6.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I want to say that the adjustment that we made at one point was about $3.2 million that actually kicked that.
That the auditor moved.
Yeah.
And, we argued with them as far as getting clarification, and they came back and said, yeah, it makes sense they can't tell us how much it's gonna cost us on post-closure. They can't tell us how long it's gonna take or when we're gonna start.
Just get an estimate.
And so he said that he sent us a letter saying that, to go back using he's not considering it restricted. And that's what happened, that pulled it off the books. And so he came back and sent us a letter saying it's not restricted funds anymore.
And then the golf course and the golf course and the multi-use, we're carrying negatives from way back when. And yes, they're gonna end up costing us money because the golf course is never gonna break even. We know that. The multi-use complex is never gonna break even. Right now, we're actually trying to operate it at a minimal loss with the YMCA contract and having to pay insurance. We're guaranteed that we're looking at being $100,000 out of pocket no matter what, because we're not gonna make that money. So, I mean, there's.
I still think that's something that I want us to keep in mind as an overall picture. I get what we're saying and how we're budgeting, I completely understand that. I'm just saying, keep in mind this as we go through our budget cycle, so that we can start planning. The other thing that I saw when we went through the budgeting process, we adopted a budget with a negative in the debt service, negative 425,102. We weren't impacted because we did have that cushion.
Right.
So this is okay, but unless we're gonna have debt that's gonna drop off, we're also gonna have to remember and think about this. And I'm just saying,
No,
y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But now we only have a cushion of 122,000. This was a $1.2 million cushion at one time. And we've gone to this
Right.
point. So I just, during our budgeting process, I wanna make sure we understand and we know, like I said, I may not be here tomorrow, whatever, but.
And we'll slowly start building that back up.
I just
Well,
wanna
but the question also on that particular item, and talking to the different financial advisors out there, is whether you can intentionally build that up or not. And, you know, we've had a
tax.
yeah, because when you set your tax rate, if you have funds that are available to that, and that was, we've gotten different opinions
Yeah,
on that.
you've mentioned it
Yeah.
before, that you said that's not something ideally that we keep, but just to keep in mind, it's a negative 425,000, we're gonna have to find that 425,000 next budget cycle if our cushion's gone. And, unless there's any debt dropping, and I didn't see any dropping.
Not next year, but it drops off in
29.
Yeah, it's not next.
26.
So those are things, that's all, and I wanted
No,
just
we know.
clarification to see that what I'm looking at is if I'm incorrect or if I'm correct.
No, I think we're all.
I think we're all on the same page.
Mhm.
I mean, we got to build a cushion there, but it's also, a large percentage of it is based off of what you tax your citizens, and if we're trying to do a minimal tax service, I mean, it's hard to build that cushion up.
Really, you're getting it off of the penalties.
Just
Yeah.
as helped us with not having to increase, because we've manipulated, we moved INS to M&O so that we can continue operating our M&O. But we're right now at a point where we've depleted our cushion and only have 122,000, so we have to find 300 and something. Am I correct?
No, we're under that impression.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for-
ma'am. Not-
And I think we have the benefit of the extra sales tax and stuff like that that will be shifting around when we're 100,000 above what we were supposed to, we initially thought we would, so.
That we're seeing so far. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't mean to Gabriel, I didn't mean to put you like on a, thank you so much. Thank you for answering those. Okay. And we'll move on to our last agenda item. Agenda item number 8, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, Mayor, make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Thank
We
you.
have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much.